Hello everyone, and welcome to the Ubuntu Touch Q&A, the UBports Foundation show discussing the development of Ubuntu Touch and our community's questions. This is episode 79, streamed live on July 4th, 2020. Happy Independence Day to our American viewers. Everyone else, it's a good day. Thanks for being here. My name is Dalton, and joining me this week are Alfred.
Hello.
Florian.
Hello.
And Jan.
Hello.
We have a roundup of news from all around the community and questions also from the community. It's weird. Sometimes it happens like that. It's happened 79 times now, so I should get used to it. But we start off this week with someone moonlighting on another podcast, Alfred.
Yes.
This week you were on Linux Unplugged, I think.
Exactly, yeah. And to be honest, it was awesome just being there talking about Ubuntu Touch and what we're doing in general, like the PinePhone-related things and Halium. They seem to be very excited about the things that are going on in the Ubuntu Touch world just as much as we are. So, it turns out that people really like using Ubuntu Touch, and we've also been, or someone in the Jupyter broadcasting community also said that Ubuntu Touch is the best, most usable GNU Linux-based operating system for mobile devices. Pat on the back for that.
That's nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for being on especially when I wasn't able to. I just kind of threw you into the fray, but you did amazing. So
awesome.
If anyone wants to listen to that, they can head over to linuxunplugged.com/360. What an excellent episode to be on. That's a special number.
Going full circle, so to say.
Why didn't they call it that?
Yeah, right.
Someone didn't vote the right title. All right. Anyway. So, yeah, thanks again. And everyone should take a listen because they also talked about System 76's pretty cool new laptops that all of you will probably want because they're amazing. Anyway. Jan, save me from my own nonsense, please.
Yes, gladly. So, as you might be aware, our testing has been a little chaotic for a while. So we have been kind of just hoping that you guys would find bugs when you are using the system and then report them, hopefully. And we have been thinking about ways to make this a little more organized for a while now. So we've started developing a system to make user testing a little more organized, and it's now close to completion. So I would like some volunteers from the community interested in helping us test the tests, and to make sure everything works when we roll it out to the whole community. So if people are interested in that, they can message me at Neo3rd on Telegram or jan@ubports.com via email. That would be great. So it would just be testing a test platform. It's meant for actual normal users, so you don't have to be a coder or anything. You just need to have a phone and be able to test something. Yes, that's it. That's me.
Right, so this is kind of like a test case management software that's really geared towards our community and what we do, right? So when you first log in, people are going to see what kind of thing?
They are going to see our pieces of software that are available for testing, and yes, it's meant to really help us manage the whole complexity of all our systems that we have to test. So one example is, of course, the operating system itself. Ubuntu Touch works on a whole bunch of devices by now, but of course in testing we focus mainly on the core devices that are fully ported, but we have to make sure that all the hardware access works before we do a new release. So with this new software, we can test every daily release, so we can see, okay, everything is working from one release to the next, and we can see, okay, this is now a regression, and it only is a regression on this device. It also does other software, so the main motivation actually was the installer, because that's actually more complex than the operating system itself, because that has multiplying complexity. So in the installer, you have all the devices that the installer can install. Then you have multiple package types that the installer is providing. You have multiple operating systems that the installer can run on, and you have to test every access in this testing matrix, and it is a lot if you want to do it. So especially for the installer, we have often been just skipping tests if we just changed smaller things, and the software would now help us manage this without having to manually fill in Excel sheets or stuff like this. And of course, it also does the operating system itself. So we can actually see, okay, this is a regression from this daily build, or this is a regression from this weekly build. And we can have it a little more structured like this.
Cool. And so, yeah, if you want to try that out, contact Jan at ubports.com via email, or at Neo3rd on Telegram. I gotta say, he showed me some really early builds of it, and it was already looking amazing then. So I can only imagine what it's like now.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Should I just go again? I have another topic.
Yeah, keep going.
Another topic is the Vlore Phone. Vlore Phone is one of the upcoming devices shipped with Ubuntu Touch by one of our gold sponsors, Hallo Weltsystem or Vlore. And they are making a phone, quite nifty. And as of today, it's supported by the UBports installer. So you can install the Vlore Phone with the UBports installer. It works pretty seamlessly, at least in most cases, the cases I heard of. Yes, that's available for pre-order on Indiegogo, and some of the community developers already have devices for testing. So this doesn't affect that many people yet, but just to show that everything's out there. So I got a development device today. It's kind of a nerdy story, but I've been using Ubuntu Touch for the past years, so I haven't seen a lot of the development that's going on in the normal world out there in phones. So I'd never had a phone with a fingerprint reader as my daily driver, and I was just so happy to see that the fingerprint reader actually works on this already, and it's just nice. It's a really nifty modern device. It feels good.
And yeah, the fingerprint reader was something that I stopped missing after a while, but I'm sure if I had it again, I would miss it again if I lost it.
Yeah, I can imagine. So if I now put my SIM card back into my OnePlus One, I think I'm not gonna stay there for long.
Okay. Well, thanks for that work. Everything's looking up for the Vlore Phone and for the UBports installer in general. Thank you. Let's talk about OTA 13 and what's been going on there. So right now on the OTA 13 board on GitHub, we've got 34 issues which are in QA. Hint, hint, guys, we need your help here. With 38 PRs merged in the past 2 weeks, which just seems like a lot. And sometimes I start to think we aren't moving as fast as we were at one point. But then I see numbers like that, and it's like, okay, yeah, we are. We're moving faster than we ever have. Things that have been happening include an upgrade to Pulse Audio by Rachanan, which will allow more fixes to go in. I believe he said he had patches for something that a lot of people are experiencing, but I'm not going to announce them now because then we'll get the when does this come out thing. So hang tight. There's some really cool stuff coming down the pipe because of that Pulse Audio upgrade. We have an upgrade to libhybris, which makes ARM64 or brings ARM64 closer to being not an edge only thing, which will be nice because that means that we can make a Devil RC stable rotation for ARM64 devices as well, which is something that we've wanted to do for a while. Inside some of the apps, your favorite contacts are now accessible from the dialer, and the old is new again, settings layout is back. We've gotten some very good feedback for both of these things so far, so thank you to everyone who's been working on those. It's been a while. Yes?
And the messaging app and the address book app will receive updates, thanks to Lionel. That's actually where PRs, I think 25 PRs are there in total over history service and address book service and stuff and everything. And to get everything unblocked, it takes now days and days. But there will be cool fixes for UX experience in the address book and also for messaging app and a lot of new functionality. For example, the birthday field is coming. So it's a small thing, but a lot of people requested that you can add the birthday field to all your contacts, and now you will be able to do that. That will be also, if we manage to get all those 20-something PRs merged before OTA 13, but I think we will, that will be in. Yeah. So
please add them to the board.
Great thing.
If you want them to be finished.
I will approximately add half of them at least, not to spill the board too much. But yeah.
Okay. Other things in the Contacts app, you can now scroll quickly by just tapping a letter in the quick scroll to the right when you start scrolling. That didn't work before. You'd have to move on the list, so that doesn't have to happen anymore. And you can more quickly call or delete a contact by swiping on it left or right. All these things are in the Devil image now and should be in the next RC, which should come out next Wednesday because we have solved all the critical issues, like the Nexus 5's backlight not being able to turn off ever. That was fun. There's also a lot of other things that are happening in the background that aren't necessarily forward-facing features that are making newer work on top of them possible. So, like Pulse Audio and libhybris. So, that's good stuff. Thank you again to everyone who's been working on all this. Sorry it's taken so long to get to some of your PRs. We've been a little busy. Some of these things are things from January or February just getting merged. So, yeah, lead time's pretty long, but now that we're starting to see it all, it's big stuff. Thank you. Up next this week, we'd like to talk a little bit about, I'm going to try this one again, Pantalaimon. Pantalaimon? Have no idea what language it's in. Which is an end-to-end encryption service for Matrix, where you set up the service to talk to your home server, and then your Matrix client, which doesn't need to implement its own end-to-end encryption, just talks to the service. So this brings the possibility to use uMatrix or Fluffy Chat on Ubuntu Touch without them needing to implement their own encryption, which is good for the developers and I think good for the users to have this one central case where more eyes are on the code. There's work to package that as a click, which installs a service, which I know isn't entirely ideal from our point of view because we don't have any way to run services on Ubuntu Touch yet. But for pushing the boundaries and making end-to-end encryption for Matrix clients possible, I think it's going to be a good thing until we're able to provide that native API to do services or a smart way to do that. So this is going to be really good. There is a thread on the forum about this, which I can pop in live chat directly from my streaming software. None of you care about that, but I do. Wait, show? Oh, that's pretty cool. I can show chat messages on screen. All right. Anyway. One last thing before we get to all of your questions, especially you in live chat, is some updates on Pine 64 devices. So the Pine phone, as of today, got another stable update, which fixes Wi-Fi disconnecting, or not entirely disconnecting, but also not working. Like packets just didn't flow after it wasn't used for some time. And that's done by turning off power management on the Wi-Fi chipset, which isn't ideal and cuts battery life by about 2 hours in standby down to 10. So that's not ideal, but it is worth it, because before this fix, you had to wait like 10 to 20 seconds every time you wanted to use Wi-Fi, and that was awful. And it also fixes flight mode or airplane mode when you reboot the device, which is also nice. In other Pine 64 news, the Pine tab now has a system image available for it. So it's able to update itself running Ubuntu Touch. The one I have here is a pre-production model that only has 1 gigabyte of RAM because mistakes were made by the factory. But it runs pretty well considering the fact that it's got 1 gigabyte less of RAM than it's supposed to. And I quite enjoy it. Hopefully I'll be seeing a new model sometime within the month. And, well, mine will probably be shipping when everyone else's does. So keep watching the Pine 64 website at pine64.org for updates on shipping for these. And for all 5 people in the world or so that have a Pine tab right now, we'd love if you're watching to help us out with these testing these images. Big thank you to everyone. Okay.
Are they already shipping, the Pine tabs?
The Pine tab is not shipping yet. The Pine phones are almost finished shipping, so we should be seeing more come out on Monday, and then there'll be just a few left at the factory. So we're almost through everything. That's good.
Cool.
And now this fun part. Thank you to our sponsors, including Smooze, Vala, or how do you say it? Hollow Welt Systems? System? My German's not
Voila
very
is
good,
fine,
obviously.
I think.
Vala's fine. Pine 64 and Private Internet Access, as well as to our infrastructure sponsors, including DigitalOcean and Gandhi. You're all making it possible for us to make Ubuntu Touch, for us to continue the work of the UBports Foundation, making a really cool mobile operating system for really cool new devices, including that one with a fingerprint sensor that Jan's been showing off since before the stream start today. Fingerprint. Wow.
Look how happy he is.
Look how happy
Yes,
he is.
it's really nice. I've always been saying I don't need this. I can remember my log code, but come on.
Look at
It's
that.
sublime.
And also a big thank you to our community sponsors on Patreon, including Lauren. I'm going to say it's Laurentine. I think I've been saying it wrong. I know I've been saying it wrong. I'm sorry. Laurentine Tillman, Renat Mirkalev, George Toma, Michael Dale Meyer, A. Thiel, Max Fielder, James H. Jackson Jr., Casey Lambie, Darren Olson, Nathan Thomas, and Glenn Hancock. Big thank you to all of you for sponsoring us on Patreon, and to everyone else who's making it possible via direct donations via PayPal or Patreon or LibrePay. It's a huge help to us. And if you'd like to join any of them, you can head over to ubports.com/donate, where we have all the ways that you can donate. We also have direct IBAN bank transfers for tax-deductible donations in the EU or any other participating nations, or however that works.
You might want to check with your tax people if you're not in the
Right.
EU.
Oh,
but
yeah,
in most
tax
EU countries, it should be
deductible.
fine.
Right, I was just talking about the transfer part.
Yes.
Sorry.
The transfer part is perfectly fine. So you can check with your bank if they charge for international transactions, but for most cases, it should be fairly good. Actually, on donations, one small note. The people supporting us on Patreon already know this, but as of this month, Patreon is starting to charge sales tax on a considerable chunk of the donations. So the part of your donation that actually reaches us is a little lower. Combined with the fees that Patreon is charging and the fees that the payment providers are charging on your donation that have been going up over the past years, Patreon is not the most effective way to donate to us. Of course, we still really appreciate your Patreon donations, but do check out the other options we have, because the fees are a little lower there, so your donation is a little more effective if you select a different donation platform.
Sorry, just a moment. I picked the worst time to forward that like you asked. Sorry.
Sorry. Yes, in the chat you can find a link to the Signal client Axolotl, because there was a question in live chat about Signal on Ubuntu Touch.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, yes, that destroyed the flow a little.
All right. I think it's time for us to take some questions. We take these questions from our forum every fortnight and talk about them right here live. We don't always have time to get to all of them, but we do read all of them and try to respond. If there's a forum link, we try to go there too.
So what Dalton is saying, if you don't get an answer, we are actually ignoring you on purpose.
Wow. All right. That's not true, but wow. Aurelio asks this week, is the GSI a change in the Halium side or in the Ubuntu Touch side of the image? So I've seen contradictory news on various local sites about this. Alfred, I think you have an answer for this, but first, can you give everyone a summary who isn't caught up on what the Ubuntu Touch GSI is?
Right. So compared to what we did in the past with, for example, Halium 7.1 based ports, back then, quote unquote, we made sure that we can have an image that is specific to one device at a time. That means, and that was due to the fact that Android most of the time had its proprietary blobs shipped as part of the system partition, and a special integration of the system into the proprietary drivers and whatnot. And so with Android's Project Treble feature, we actually gained the capability of making sure that we have one image that is installable for multiple devices for the system partition. So the only thing that is missing is a vendor partition, which has the proprietary blobs, so it separates from the system, and a kernel image that has some special Ubuntu Touch specific patches on it. That's basically the gist of what GSI does compared to what we had back in the day with 7.1. So the GSI changes by itself. They both are in the Halium portion, as well as in the Ubuntu Touch rootfs, because there were, for example, the fingerprint reader was something that had to be changed on the rootfs side as well, so that the treble-based Halium 9 fingerprint reader support can actually be used from within Ubuntu Touch. There were some changes missing. For example, there's also the GStreamer Droid work that Rajanan has been working on for 7.1. We also benefit from that on the Android 9 side of things, or Halium 9 side of things. And that's also something in the rootfs, in the Ubuntu Touch rootfs. And system, so the Halium portion basically means that we ship as many libraries as possible so that every proprietary blob on the vendor partition for a GSI compatible device actually runs, and everything else can be used with the open source Halium and open source rootfs in combination.
All right. Aurelio's second question was, I guess this will allow for faster ports on trouble-compliant devices, but will it also allow for improvements in performance?
Well, so the performance increase, a performance increase can be gained due to the fact that we now are able to make use of Hardware Composer 2. Before, we just were able to make use of Hardware Composer 1 and earlier versions. And so it depends on how well the Hardware Composer stuff is implemented in the proprietary blob side. But you can expect much better performance, because I have compared the Sony Xperia X with the Google Pixel 3a, and I was expecting that the performance would be just about the same. But actually, in reality, the Google Pixel 3a is much smoother, and its performance is... I've never seen an Ubuntu Touch device being that quick and that fluid. So there are some things that we can gain due to the fact that we're now able to make use of newer components from Android.
Cool. Yeah, I saw that you were using the drawer at a full, smooth 60 frames per second. That seemed pretty nice. Everything looked really smooth. All right. Pavoke asked this week, did anyone try Lomiri or Ubuntu Touch via Wayland on Vulkan yet? There's a driver for the Raspberry Pi 4 now as well, and he links to a RPi VK driver on GitHub, which can't quite call itself a Vulkan driver because it doesn't have full compatibility, but implements a subset of Vulkan. So with a little bit of research, Vulkan applications can be run under Mir, and that's been the case since late 2018, or probably earlier. So that piece of the puzzle is there, but I'm not sure how much Qt itself renders under Vulkan. They're currently working on making Qt Quick OpenGL independent so that they can work on... I think it's mainly to run on Metal, to be honest, but it also allows work on DirectX 12 and Vulkan. And they're preparing that. They want it done by the Qt 6 release. There's a beta of it in Qt 5.12 and therefore Qt 5.15. Wait, 5.14 and therefore 5.15. So it might be something that we see more of, but I don't think right now we'd be able to just run on top of Vulkan with no OpenGL available. And indeed, if you did use the command line options to switch to a Vulkan driver after running Lomiri under Vulkan, it might not be the smoothest or most functional experience. It's hard to say. No one's tried it. That's all I know. Okay. Florian, would you like to talk a little bit about a question in live chat?
Yeah. Ooh, that's flabbergasting. You can present the question here. Ooh. So it's totally honorable to be the first one to answer a question that's presented like that. Yeah, so basically, we still do not have a really cool UI-like thingy that makes backups and restores easy for everyone, and we know that's a little bit of a pain. So the backup still involves manual steps at the moment, and we are going to try to tackle that in the future. But basically what everybody can do is that there are two folders on the phone that need to be backed up to get all your apps and system settings, including all the configured data of the apps, out from the device. So when, for example, you transfer those folders to your PC, you could do this with an ADB command. And there is something in the forum, and I'm really not sure if I will find it on the forum, but various things were tried. It can be either transferred with ADB directly or with a secure copy, which is a little bit slow because everything needs to be encrypted, and that's not the optimal thing for bulk transfers, but still possible with a little bit of patience. So I try to find this on the forum again, where we have a detailed instruction how you can backup and restore that stuff. And I could put it somewhere either to the show notes, Dalton, hint, hint, or I don't know where we can stick this thing, but yeah. So fear not, the backup is possible, but it's a little bit manual and terminal textual steps involved. But we'll try to do this also someday in the future when we have more time, because yeah, as Jan also knows, we tried to get on this train for backup and restore for some time, and it was always postponed because other things were more important, unfortunately. You could argue that backup and restore is the most important thing, but yeah, we're gonna stretch it a bit.
As long as your system doesn't break, it's not.
Yes, exactly. So, buy a case for your phone like I did. If you drop it, then it doesn't break. So perfect. No, I'm just kidding. Also, when you want to change phones, you can do it like that. So you would transfer with backup restore these two folders to the new phone. Don't forget, you should delete the folders on the old device, because there are some things on it that don't play well if you duplicate them with a backup restore. Like, for example, teleports then sees you logged in with the same key from two devices, and that can create situations where they either block you for some time, or the first device which logs in wins, and then everything else needs to be repeated. So I don't recommend using those things that are somehow connected with an upstream service on the old device again after the transfer. The other part of the question, yeah.
For reference, we should probably read these before we start answering them. The question was, is it possible to back up and restore all apps with their data at once? So apologies to our audio listeners. We were so excited about being able to present things on screen.
I was thinking I don't need to have to read the question. Now it's on screen. Perfect. No, it's not. So yeah, it was a backup restore question. Next, the second part of the question is it possible to log in with fingerprint to all apps at once? Not sure what that exactly means, because you can unlock the screen with the fingerprint.
So in Android, there are ways to sign into apps with your fingerprint, and currently we don't have that. It's
so
with
not into
Key Store in Android. So the encrypted secure enclave thing on the phone will either store the encryption keys or store the login. And that's just not something that we do yet.
Yeah, no. That's unfortunately not going to happen soon. Also, there is not much hope for payment apps in the future, as we would need to get much more secure with the device using trusted storage or hardware encryption things that are used in Android. Plus, I don't know how is this SafeNet stuff doing with payments. So it's very unlikely that you get certified.
That I don't go through right now.
Yeah. So yeah.
Big B asked a question in our forum. What do you think about in case of emergency contacts and medical information available for access on the lock screen? There were actually a couple people who talked about this on the forum this week, and I think it's an interesting idea. It's just not something that we have yet. However,
actually, there is something you can do. Oh, sorry, you were.
We might be about to say the same thing, so go for it.
Go on. No, go on.
Okay. What you can do is add a wallpaper that has the information that you want on it to display on the lock screen or on the background, if you need it right now, that is. And there's also an app called Circle Message, which might be able to create that message that goes on your screen. And the question is if it goes away or not, which I don't remember. So that might not be the best idea. If you really want an in case of emergency information about your allergies and who to contact in case of trouble, I'd say create your own background that has that on it, import it, and set it as your background. That'd be the easiest way for now. But in the future, yes, it would be cool to have access to that from the lock screen if we can do it in a way that's secure and safe for the user. I have no idea what that noise is. All right. How do I pronounce this? Mr. DVD says, Qt guarantees binary compatibility via D pointers. So simply replacing the old Qt libraries with the new ones should not break anything. Is there any reason why Qt Web Engine is planned for OTA 13? I'd prefer to see Qt Web Engine 5.15, and I'd be happy to see the built-in Markdown support from Qt GUI 5.14 and Qt Quick 5.14 as well. So to be clear, we do need to upgrade Qt, and whether we go to 5.12 or 5.15, 5.15 is released? Question mark? I forget. Oh boy.
I think it is.
Yeah, it would have been within the last couple weeks, I think. I've been doing a lot of stuff. Everything's kind of mashing together this year. Have you guys noticed that? I'm not sure where we would go, whether we'd go to 5.12 or 5.15. It'd be up to the people doing the work at that time. But Qt Web Engine 5.14 is planned for OTA 13 specifically because it's able to be installed on with Qt 5.9. So we don't need to upgrade the whole stack in order to upgrade Qt Web Engine, unlike all of the other technologies in the Qt stack, almost. It's not so simple as just replacing the version, because some of our applications and our UI toolkit use private headers inside Qt, which are not guaranteed to be stable with the dpointer method. And just in general, due to the reality of software, it doesn't work that easily. You can't just replace Qt. We've done this before. It doesn't work like that. 5.15 should have been released in May, says Fuse Team. Oh, man. I'm sorry. But, yeah, just upgrading it isn't quite so simple, and we do need a lot of help to get that done. Hopefully we can talk a little bit more about that soon, though. And then his second question. Are there plans to bring Flutter support to Ubuntu Touch? Because Fluffy Chat's new features and functions come in the Flutter version of Fluffy Chat, but not the QML version. And it'd be lovely to get all these fancy flashy features and get full support back on Ubuntu Touch. I did a little bit of research on this. I don't know. Have any of you checked out Flutter at all?
Nope.
Not yet? Okay. So there is... The way this is done is with something called an embedder, which is, I guess, the Flutter engine that shows it on whatever platform you're on. There is an experimental one in Flutter, but it's based on GTK and is, according to their own documentation, not ready for production use. However, there is a Flutter embedder for Wayland, which might also work, depending on how progressed that one is. So it talks direct Wayland rather than going through GTK to do that kind of work. Might be interesting. But in general, there's no way to get Flutter on Ubuntu Touch yet. We haven't completely moved all the way to Wayland on any devices except for the Pine Phone and Pine Tab and the Raspberry Pi 3B+. So we aren't quite there yet, but it would be interesting to see like if their default Flutter embedder with GTK works. That'd be pretty cool. And as Rodney just said, there is a web target too, which might be able to work inside the web app container. You can just make HTML5 apps that work on Ubuntu Touch. It'll just load them up like a web page. And finally from the forum this week, Alfred, can you read this one?
Plotters asked the question, do you have any issue tracking workflow?
Yeah, that's basically what this feedback boiled down to, I think. Specifically relating, as I looked into it more, to the PinePhone tracker on GitLab, because he presented a few issue numbers that I typed them into the Ubuntu Touch tracker on GitHub, and they didn't make any sense why they would be related. So, apologies, I did track with you, though. We do have an issue tracking workflow, and it is documented at docs.ubports.com in the About section, issue tracking processes. So that's how we track issues, but it's more applying to the Ubuntu Touch tracker on GitHub. I do realize that the PinePhone tracker is not following that kind of workflow right now, and it doesn't have many labels at all. It's one of those things that was kind of a small tracker for just the few people who had the PinePhone, and now it's thousands. So it needs a little bit more structure. This week, I will dedicate a few hours to getting that issue tracker triaged, deduplicated, and labeled correctly. Thank you for reminding us.
But it's not unlikely that something about our issue tracking workflow is going to change anyways. So we talked about the user test before, which of course also relates to issue tracking, and then the labeling structure that's described on the docs that Dorton mentioned are a little heavy on manual labor, manual triaging. So it's not ideal for the community as big as it is by now. So if you have fun ideas about that, I guess we can also consider them.
He did have a few, actually. Tag all issues using predefined tags. We're behind on tagging. I'm behind on tagging. And organize the board to see which issues should be solved per OTA release. That's something that's only done on GitHub currently. So if you head to github.com/UBports, in the projects tab, there is a list of issues, or a list of OTAs. Generally, we don't go too far forward with it, but you can see what's planned, at least for this update, using that. But again, doesn't help for the PinePhone because it is not currently on the same... It's not on the same software base. I mean, it is, but it isn't. In the fact that it uses Wayland instead of Mere Client for apps, and there's a few other things that are just different on it, which also allowed us to experiment a bit with it. So, and especially experiment with GitLab. But yeah, I'll take some time to triage that, think on it a little bit more this week. And then his third suggestion was to have a voting system, bug bounty, and assign which developer actually fixes the issues. All of these things are things that we purport to do, but in practice it doesn't always get done. I realize that.
Yeah.
Thank you for your feedback. Suppose I should get on people about doing the right thing more, and get on myself about doing it more. Assigning myself to issues and things like that. Thank you. All right. Do any of you see more issues that you would like to talk about? Or any issues, any questions you'd like to talk about from live chat or anything? Let's see.
I think I do have one from Fuse Team, if I remember correctly. I'm scrolling around and can't find it, but I do believe the question was, is it possible to port an older device to Halium 9.0 GSI image? And the answer to that is maybe, depending on the device. If the device does have a treble-compatible vendor partition, then yeah, sure, it should be working. With legacy hardware abstraction, I'm not sure if that's going to work well or at all, to be honest with you, because a lot of things explicitly expect the treble-based, hide-L-based interfaces to be there. And those requirements can only be fulfilled with a proper Halium 9 port with proper treble-compatible vendor partitions.
Interesting.
But I do think I've seen someone saying that the OnePlus 3 is also able to be used with the GSI. So yeah, there's hope for some devices at least.
Sorry, not laughing at you, laughing at chat. Cool. Let's see. There was one more. Yes. Another one from Zet7. Is it possible to install something from the command line to a Chroot or Lexi or other container? That is what Libertine is for, as people have been talking about in chat. If you'd like to install either command line or legacy desktop apps, Libertine is the way to do it. And it'll allow you to create containers and install packages in them that you can run without needing to mess with the base Ubuntu Touch system, which is nice. And it handles all the containerization stuff and everything for you. Additionally, it doesn't work on the Pine phone yet, so that's unfortunate, but I'd like to get some more help there. Jan, did you have something?
Nope, I'm good.
Maybe Jan with that light looks like he saw an angel.
Yes, it's my desk light. It's a little
harsh.
It's my secret for glowing skin.
Literally. Okay. All right. I think that should do it. Amy, all people are awesome. It doesn't matter who they are or what they, their orientation, anything like that. All people are awesome. Yes. And I think that'll do it. Unless anyone has anything else here?
I'm good.
Okay. You're good? You're good. All right. I'm good too. So thank you everyone so much for joining us for the Ubuntu Touch Q&A. It's been a great time. Thanks for coming back, Jan. Nice seeing you again.
Yes, thanks for taking by once more. Hope to see you soon
Jan,
again.
where can people
No pressure. Sorry.
It's gonna
Jan,
be
where
enough
can-
for a year now.
Yeah, right. See you next July. Where can people find you outside of this show? Jan.
Best way is probably Twitter @Neo3rd.
All right. How about you, Florian?
Yeah, that's also Twitter. I'm not sure why everybody's on Twitter these days. Maybe I'm still not too old for it. It's @Lennox_mage. And I'm unable to spell it correctly all the time. So
Okay.
just find me.
And what about you, Alfred?
Yeah, you can also find me on Twitter with by the handle freddle.me, FREDLDOTME.
And I'm at
sounds
Universal Superbox. That is exactly how you think it's spelled, but remove all the E's. And you can find UBports on all sorts of social networks, including Facebook, Twitter, PixelFed, Mastodon, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Diaspora. Or if you'd like your our news directly in your chat client, you can do that via Telegram or Matrix. Links for all those are down in the description. If you'd like to chat with us, you can find us at UBports on Telegram or #UBports:/matrix.org on Matrix. Or if you'd like some longer form content, you can find us on our forum at forums.ubports.com. Love to see you there. Get some talking to you. We also take questions for this show from the forum. So if you want to be first in line to be on this show, you should ask your questions there. It's a good time. Thank you again, everyone, for checking us out. Hope you've enjoyed. Let us know what you think down in the comments or anywhere else that you find us. And we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.